Alright, so with this video, I'm going to be covering something that's a little more touchy. So I decided to make my lights a little darker. Let's talk about Kanye West. Let's talk about the weird things he's been saying and about this whole weird obsession he has with Judaism now. All right. So Kanye West recently came out and is just being very aggressively anti-Semitic. He is saying some fruity stuff. He's going on Alex Jones and saying very blatantly that he likes the H word, and I personally thought that shit was hilarious. I know people that were mortified by that, but being again someone who just has a background in mental health, like he's just popping off. I feel like he almost doesn't even know what he's saying. The guy needs to take his meds. Um, but I want to talk about why this guy needs to not be canceled, and he needs to kind of just what he's saying needs to be um uh interpreted better, I guess, is the best, like the most subtle way I can put this. So I had this discussion with my roommate, and it was a bit of a long one. There wasn't any like arguing. It was kind of just like back and forth talking about what he's saying. And so I'm going to say right now that Jewish people do not run the world. The H word was a bastard, and I'm really glad he's 6 feet deep. And I do not appreciate the fact that the U.S. government, which this is true, decide, we'll throw you in Argentina and you only have one person to communicate with the rest of your life until you die. That's what happened to him. Look it up. JFK files that came out under Trump's presidency. Read them. There's one very black and white photo of him and the only person he had communication with for the remainder of his life while he lived it out in Argentina alone. So, that being said, what Kanye West talks about lately is that whole notion of Jewish people running the world. And I'm going to tell you right now, again, Jewish people don't run the world. This is like weirdly a thing that is mostly said in America for God knows why. It's based on. I'm not gonna sit there and call this conspiracy anti-Semitic because it's not. It's this truth that there's a lot of people in positions of power that just so happen to be Jewish. It's just the fact of the matter. Is it apparently wrong to say that? Yes, it is apparently very wrong to say that, and you can't talk about that. By the way, what affiliation? Hold on. Let me just fact check this before I say it. Let's just see here. Quick fact check. Harvey Weinstein is Jewish. Interesting. Oh, who else is Jewish? Oh yeah, Dan Schneider. Again, I feel like that's part of where that conspiracy comes from, is just the fact that dudes like that just happen to be in their positions and happen to be fucked up and happen to be Jewish. It has nothing to do with them being Jewish. Kanye West does not take the individual and remove them from their religion. For some reason, he is squishing them together. You can be a piece of shit and it have nothing to do with your religious affiliation. Like, those two dudes are pieces of shit. They are horrible men. And I don't think anything has happened with Dan Schneider, but Harvey Weinstein deserves to get his ass handed to him inside of a jail. It's probably not going to happen, but he fucking deserves it. But see, that's it. Like that's I feel like that's what I just said is like an example of where people get that weird fucking idea that the people who control things are just all Jewish for some reason. They're not. There's just pieces that are people. They're people that are pieces of shit that just so happen to be Jewish. Same way, like, listen, did we throw all Catholics under the bus during the whole thing with the priests being little diddlers? Like, we didn't throw all Catholics under the bus just because a shitload of priests ended up being pedophiles. We didn't say, oh, all Catholics are pedophiles. I guarantee there were people out there that did, but it was not as, like, mainstreamed as what Kanye West is doing right now. So that's what I have to say about that. Like, it's coincidental that there's a shitload of people in positions of power that are of that religious affiliation, but I mean, why don't you say the same thing about Christians? There's a bunch of politicians and people in positions of power that are Christians. Why aren't you saying the same thing about them? Just a thought. I mean, listen, take what he says as, like, discern what the truth in what he's saying. There's a lot of people in positions of power, a lot of people that, like, deal with the contracts over in California that are just Jewish. Are I'm assuming a lot of them pieces of shit? Yes. Has nothing to do with the fact that they're Jewish. They're just pieces of shit. Alright, I guess that will be a brief little video for talking about Mr. Kanye West and the weird stuff he is going on about these days.